Welcome, everybody. I'm Jason Mefford, and I'm back with Brad Miller, and we're walking a spiritual path today. And today we thought we would do a little dream. Okay, so dreams are an important part of our spiritual journey. And whether you remember them or not, you're having dreams every single night, usually multiple dreams. And one of the keys is to remember those dreams, bring them back into this reality. But we thought we'd spend maybe do a little shorter episode just talking again about dreams a little bit because Brad just had a dream. I just had dreams. So take her away, Brad.
Yeah. Well, we're not talking about dreams like I had a dream that was my dream is to have a business and to be a successful person and not like aspirational, that kind of dreams. But dreams as far as what you do when you are asleep, when you're laying in your bed.
Hmm.
Um, and are you really dreaming then? Or are we dreaming now? That's maybe we'll get into that. Maybe we don't. I know that's a rabbit hole. I don't know, it may not be worth getting into, but yeah, so the other night I had a dream that I remember. Like you said, every night, we have dreams. We just oftentimes don't remember what they are. Sometimes we kind of know we had a dream and we just can't recall the details of it. I've had that quite frequently where I know I had a dream because I remember something, but I sure as the heck can't remember what the specifics of it were, like what happened in it, what was going on with it. Um, and sometimes I just maybe I'm so exhausted, I'm tired, I don't know, but I just don't even remember having a dream. Like it feels like I went to sleep, closed my eyes, next thing I know, I woke up and it was in morning or something. But the other night I had a dream that I remembered some of the details of the dream. And why I remember it, I don't know. There may be a reason behind it. But I figured what the heck, I'll share it with you guys, my close friends here, and we'll talk to me a little bit more about dreams along with it. So my dream the other night was I was at a post office mailing a little package of some sort. Okay. So I was taking the package up. I had all the postage on it and was trying to find a place, like a box to put it in or something. A little slot, something I could put the box in. And a worker came up to me with a little card and it had my fix on it and it said armed and dangerous. And he showed it to me. He's like, is this you? And I was like, yes, but again, I'm like, but I'm not armed or dangerous, and he looked at me and kind of looked at the paper and I could tell he didn't believe me. And so I was with another person or two. And so we kind of started to hightail it out. And as we're hightailing out, we start getting chased by armed, I don't know, officers or something like that, postal inspectors. I don't know who they were exactly, but they were chasing us. And so we were kind of running. I ended up going into a church. Um, and we got into the church and I went to the chamber, bedroom, I don't know, room of the priest. And it was dark in there and I kind of went in and I kind of knocked on the door and I said, "Excuse me, Father, but we need sanctuary." And so he kind of stood up out of his bed, kind of, was like, "Okay, put on, I don't know, robe or something like that," and came out and was like, "You're welcome here. Um, you're safe here." And I remember in my head thinking, we have to get someplace safe. If we're in the church sanctuary, they can't come in after us. And then, you know, shortly thereafter, one of the people that was in the group with me was like, "Oh, thank you, Father, we'll only be here a short time." And the father kind of smiled and shook his head and was like, "You'll be here for a while."
Hmm.
Um, and then that was, and I woke up and I don't have anything after that. Um, And I was talking to I don't know why I had that dream. I don't know what the message behind it was supposed to be. There's obviously something there for me. And I can maybe speculate about what some of those things might have been. I can maybe try to put some pieces together of why I was being chased. or why I would specifically go into a church. I'm not a religious person. Um, but why I would be looking for safety and I'd find it in a church. I don't know. But again, we all have dreams. Sometimes they're relatively mundane like that. Sometimes I remember one dream when I was younger. I was jumping out the window, and I remember that I realized I was dreaming in that dream. I was like, "Ooh, I'm dreaming." And so then I went and I made sure I tried to jump out the window because I'm like, "Oh, I'm dreaming. This will be fun." And when I jump out the window, and then I woke up before I got out the window. But um, so yeah, my dream story there.
Well, and I know, I mean, like you said, I think we want to keep this one maybe a little bit shorter, but I think, I've done a lot with Dreamtime. I'm working on Dreamtime every night, and I think at least some of the things that I have kind of learned, or maybe how I approach it now.
Mm,
And there's a whole group of people that do dream analysis. You can go to a psychiatrist and
mhm,
tell them your dream, and sometimes dreams have archetypal themes,
mhm,
and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But I think, what's most important is, I could give Brad my opinion about what I think it means, but ultimately, who has to figure out what it means?
mhm,
Brad, right? And I could give my impressions, but I think it's important for each of us to, yeah, if you want to ask advice of other people, fine, but don't just believe what they're saying because it's your dream.
mhm,
And sometimes in dreams, they're metaphorical, right? They do have meanings. Certain people in the dreams mean certain things for us. But sometimes the people in the dreams have nothing to do with the dreams as well.
mhm,
And sometimes those dreams are given to us because it represents um, maybe someone we know, or that person maybe represents a certain theme or something like that. And so, on the one hand, we don't want to necessarily take our dreams so literal. Like
mhm,
Brad didn't need to wake up this morning and go, "Oh my gosh, the U.S. Postal Service is going to be coming after me. They're going postal on me, and they think I'm armed and dangerous. So I'm not going to leave my house, and I'm going to drive down to the church, and I'm going to reenact because, oh, this was a foreboding, of what's going to happen, and I'm going to go find sanctuary in a church because that's what the dream means." Well, it's probably not what it means, right? And so, taking our dreams too literally is not necessarily the best way to go, right? But, at the same point, uh not taking our dreams seriously at all is also
mhm,
not a good thing, right? Because, especially because this is a dream that Brad remembered when he woke up. It was something that was important for him that he pulled back through into this dimension. And so it's probably an opportunity for him to sit with it a little bit.
mhm,
And but also not to beat yourself up over it if you don't understand what it means. Because that's
mhm,
the other thing. I find people are like, "Oh, I'm not doing good at dream time." Well, what's that doing? It's putting them right down into a lower vibration. And how the hell are you going to remember or do better if you're down at a lower vibration? Keep it up, you know.
mhm,
And if you're supposed to know, you're going to know at some point. But I think kind of a couple of practical things from it is, some people will put a little notepad next to their bed. Sometimes they'll have their
mhm,
phone next to their bed. And so when they wake up and they remember, if you document even a few words or something, or some people take a little voice memos of what came up, because they fade. our dreams tend to fade. And we remember them when we're in kind of this wake sleep phase, and an hour later you can't remember it. And
Mhm.
so one way to help pull it back through practically is to, take some notes or do things like that.
Mhm.
Um, Another thing that I have found very helpful, because again, people, they want to make meaning out of all the dreams. And some people tend to feel like dreams are foreboding, right? That there's some prophecy that's going to happen, right? Like Brad could have woken up this morning and go, "Oh my gosh, I got to be careful. The government's after me," right? And I just had this dream, so something's going to happen, and so I'm going to get into anxiety or whatever else about it, right?
Mhm.
But sometimes it's not that at all. And in fact, for me, um, what's one of the things that's so difficult about dreams is knowing whether it's past, present, future, or concurrent. And so I think because we don't know that, we don't want to place too much emphasis on what we think it means, right? Like, because there are so many concurrent realities happening at the same time. And, what is the dream and who is the dreamer? And is this a dream or is it not? One thing I've been taught is you're more awake when you're asleep than you are when you think you're awake, right? That this is the dream, and we're more alive when we're actually asleep, which again is one of those you can't think your way through it to try to understand it. But, I think sometimes when people have come to me with their dreams, and, it's like, well, because you don't know when this is happening, right? And so as an example, you may have a dream about someone, and I'm just making stuff up here, okay? Because this is loosely based on some things that I've known people that have experienced, okay? Um, or maybe it was me. I'm not going to tell you either way, okay? But a friend of mine had kind of a recurring dream of this person that they knew. They were married to somebody else, right? But were having this kind of romantic related dream about this other person. And so, made it kind of, what is this? Am I supposed to leave my current spouse and go off with this other person? And so people can make all kinds of meaning about it that they want to. And some people would go down that route. They'd say, "Oh my gosh, I just dreamt about this person. I'm supposed to get a divorce, leave my spouse and go off with this other person." Well, that may absolutely have nothing to do with what you were given in the dream, right? So don't just jump to conclusions about that, because in one particular example, it was the person who was in the dream was just there to make a point. It wasn't actually the person,
Mhm.
if that makes any sense.
Yep. They represented something
They
else.
represented something else, and so to quite literally take meaning from that would have been disastrous,
Mhm.
in a lot of ways. Now, if you have a dream where you are, again, if we kind of carry on that, you're in a relationship and you have a dream where you're sexually active with some other complete different person, right? Do you have to wake up and go, "Oh my gosh, I cheated on my partner last night"? No, that's not what that necessarily means either, right? You could be experiencing or glimpsing into a parallel reality that you're living, where you are with a different person, and it has nothing to do with this particular reality. Or it could mean something else, right? And so I think, not trying to take too literally what the dreams mean or literally trying to make sense of them is an important thing to go
Mhm.
into when we're looking at dreams. Now,
Yeah.
if you have recurring dreams, if you have the same kind of dream over and over again, then there's probably a particular message in there that you're supposed to receive, right? Like I've dreamt about kind of a certain house and doorways and going through these different doors in the house and some of the people who were there, several times. Or I just had one again where I was consulting, meeting with someone in our reality who is a very famous person that people would know about. So what was going on? Well, I don't know exactly, right? Um, but I was having an experience with this person in an alternate reality. Um, why? I don't know. Doesn't matter, necessarily. But I think it's, again, if we're having the same dreams over and over again, like I said, this is not the first time that this has happened with this individual either. So I'm doing something with this person, whether it's in this reality and another reality, whatever, right? That sometimes our dreams are glimpses of what we're doing, the work we're doing when we're asleep. And sometimes they're lessons for us. Sometimes they are prophetic or predilections of what may happen. Um, but just like anything, we have choice. And so just
Mhm.
because something is prophesied, we have choice on whether or not that will come to pass or not, depending on the choices that we make along the line.
Mhm.
Um, so
Mhm.
another couple things that I've, kind of learned is if I go to, well, I usually try to go to bed when I feel like I need to go to bed,
Mhm.
but I always take some time. I don't just surf on the internet, check my phone, watch TV, and then go crash in bed 2 minutes later. It's usually better for us to have some downtime, if you will,
Mhm.
or do something like, listen to high vibrational music or, meditate a little bit or do
Mhm.
something, especially if we have been in some of the lower vibrational frequencies.
Mhm.
So if we're angry, if we've had a fight with somebody and then we go to bed, well, we start at that low vibration.
Mhm.
And to really dream in the right way and to bring those dreams back, we need to enter dream time in higher vibrational states.
Yeah.
And so whatever you can do to um, help yourself to prepare for sleep and prepare for dream time, good.
Mhm.
Another thing that has helped me a lot is I don't use an alarm clock unless I specifically have to be up earlier than normal because of some commitment or client meeting that I have to do. I don't
Mhm.
set an alarm because waking up naturally also is a way for you to bring those dreams back easier than getting ripped
Mhm.
out of the middle of a dream because your alarm goes off.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually found that if I take a nap, that I end up remembering dreams easier after that as well. So if I, sometimes I've gotten my daughter off to school and then I'll go back and lay back down again. And kind of when I wake up again, just naturally at that point, it tends to be, dreams kind of easier to remember. Or, something in the afternoon, I'll, after lunch, I'll, feel a little bit sluggish after eating. Maybe I'll just go lay down for a little bit, and then the dreams will come a little easier that way. I think some of that is because when you nap and you're not getting into that really deep sleep phase, you're staying more into the dreaming, the lighter phases of sleep and all, um, on that. I've also heard of people who will actually drink a lot of water. So good, right before to go to bed, drink a lot of water, and so then at some point their body will kind of wake up because they have to pee, and that kind of helps them. That the idea I think you mentioned earlier about that the wake sleep area, that kind of space where you in right before you, or right as you're waking up, whatever. That also is kind of where the remembering can happen and stuff, and um,
Hmm. Well, and I'm smiling because guess what, Brad? I found the same thing about naps.
mm,
So at least at this point, I've been waking up very early and taking a nap during the day. Now, what that does is it allows me twice as many opportunities to enter and come out of dream time
mm,
each
mhm,
day. So all of
yeah,
a sudden, I've doubled my exercising of doing that, right? Just by taking a nap. I tend to remember a series of dream sequences more, an hour, hour and a half nap. I might remember three or four different dream sequences when I wake up
mm,
from a nap, where, with the longer night, sometimes again, the body's just out,
mhm.
sort of a thing. And so it's harder to remember some of those dreams. But interesting too, I drink a lot of water before I go to bed. Why? Same thing. During the night, I'm getting up to go pee, and literally it's like sometimes three or four times. I don't know. I pee out way more than I drank the couple hours before I went to bed.
It just makes no sense. You're like,
It
where did it all
doesn't
come
it
from?
doesn't make logical sense. But again, what is it doing? It's allowing me multiple times during the night to go in and out of dream time. And
Okay.
so it helps me, practice that much more too. And like I said, I never really thought about it that way as a little hack, but in a way, maybe it is, if you don't
Hmm.
mind, getting up, two, three, four times a night, to still get 6 or 7 hours of sleep, but it's kind of making it almost like they're little naps back to back to back to back. And so there's more of an opportunity maybe to bring back at least what you were doing that last hour or
Right.
2 hours than to try to remember everything you did over maybe 7 or 8 hours of sleep.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I guess we would be remiss if not to talk about another use of dreams, and that is for connecting, for learning.
Mhm.
Um, it's not just l- things that we had going through our head, but sometimes that is the space where we're able to reach out, where we're quiet, where we can actually connect with others. Um, Lessons can be passed along to us, because we don't have all the rest of the noise.
No, and a lot of times that's one of the ways that the beings help us to provide us with information, right?
Right.
Because again, a lot of times during the day, we're so busy, we're so distracted.
Hmm.
But, if we go to bed with a particular intent, maybe if there's a decision you have to make, if there's something you want to remember, if there's something you want to learn about, we can go to bed with that intention, and often the beings will open the different doors that need to be opened. It's no surprise that Jason has lots of dreams where I'm going in and out of doors, right? I'm in a house, and all of a sudden I open a door and I'm somewhere completely different. seems like I'm still in the house, but there's no way I'm still in the house, right? I'm in this little house that I owned, I think, if I remember right, 1,200 square feet. I open a door and I'm in like a 6,000 square foot restaurant up on a balcony, looking down at all these fancy people dressed. Well, that room did not exist in my house.
I mean, if it did, that would be quite
That'd be
the
cool, right?
yeah.
Extra residual income. But, pay attention to doors opening and closing as well in your dreams because it's a way to go through portals in different dimensions and different time space areas as well. And like you said, when we enter dreams with the right intention and we're open and we're in the right vibrational frequency, a lot of times we can pull those things back. And that's sometimes why we have recurring dreams over and over again. Because it's like the beings are like, Jason, you didn't get it. So here it is again, right? We're going to replay that dream for you. Did you get it this time? Nope. Okay. Next week, we're going to give it to you again. Because sometimes, that happens until we get it
Mhm.
as well. And so that's why, especially the ones that you continue to have as recurring dreams,
Mhm.
um, to pay attention. But also, don't get scared from your dreams either. I have certain violent dreams,
Mhm.
things that might freak people out, but I don't get into that either, right?
Mhm.
Because again, it's sometimes there are alternative, parallel realities that we're dealing with, but we don't have to bring back into this world any fear or stress or
Mhm.
anything, from that as well. Which I know sometimes, people call them nightmares
Mhm.
and then they freak out about them. Well, we don't need to,
Right.
unless you want to go through extra pain and suffering in this life. Um, you don't have to be afraid of your dreams either,
Mhm.
even if you may consider them a nightmare.
Mhm. Yeah, I've had a couple times where I've woken up in the middle of the night, like my wife's kind of had to shake me awake because I'm calling out, or I think a couple of times I've actually been like, "Help me," or something, and she's heard me and like had to wake me up because I've been in the middle of a particular intense
Hmm.
dream. But again, it's one of those things like I wake up and I realize it was just a dream, and so, sometimes I will actually replay it in my head to try to take away some of the emotion that kind of came with it, some of the energy that came with it. Um, Figuring that, some people are like, I don't want to ever think that again. I just want to push that away. But sometimes I feel like if I play it out, I can just process that stuff a little bit better because maybe it's my brain was processing some stuff and this was just kind of helping get it out, or something. And so not that I'm going to glut it for punishment necessarily, but that
No,
replay
no, no.
helps
It's
to.
it's it's a good practice if you want to. I think what Jung called it, um, active imagination. I think is what he called it, where you would go back into dreams like that and kind of
Mhm.
relive it and ask the characters in the dream questions or look at it from a different perspective because sometimes we may have seen like some snarling angry wolf who was coming to eat us
Mhm.
and we got scared, right? About it. And then when you go back in and you think about it, it's like, no, it was a little chihuahua that was just wanting to be petted. That sometimes we misinterpret or see things different in our dreams than what they were, or we don't understand the metaphors behind it. And because of our belief structure here, right, it freaks us out
Mhm.
when we remember it in this dimension.
Yeah.
So, yeah, few little things about dreams.
Yeah.
We could talk about dreams a lot, and like I said, those are a few things that I've been learning, been working through, continue to work through, um, because there's a lot of power in dreams. a lot of
Hmm.
work gets done in dreams as well.
Yeah, I know I've had specific times where I've dreamt particular individuals who are helping, giving messages, kind of communicating and things like that, and I've been able to recognize them as such.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I said, you kind of quiet the mind, and that's kind of the best opportunity for them to work or to help.
Yeah, because sometimes beings show up in our linear as animals or people or other things. Sometimes they show up that way in dream time.
Hmm.
And it can be, actually who they are or representing, metaphorically some other person or some concept or some animal or some scenario, right? But it's the same thing. Same things are happening in dream time as are happening when we're awake or when we're asleep and then we become awake in our dreams, whichever way it is, right? Um, and so I think that's it's an important part of our spirituality as well.
Hmm. And you can do it every single night.
And you can do it as many times as you want to each night too,
Yeah,
and naps during the
drink
day
water and pee, and
and
just keep
everything
on
else too. Yeah.
naps, and yeah,
Keep on dreaming. Keep on dreaming. Actually,
that's right.
uh, yeah, because now I'm actually sometimes enjoying dreaming more than I'm enjoying being awake.
Except for today when recording,
Oh, except for today when we're recording.
but other yes, other.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few little things about dreams. I'm sure we'll talk more about them, as well. But you know, if you missed them, go back because we actually gave you several different little practical things that you can use to kind of, improve your dream time, understand your dreams better. But ultimately, it's your dream. You're the one that needs to make meaning of it, and
Mhm,
only you can fully feel and understand what the meaning of that is, even when you ask other people for guidance. So, kind of never
mhm.
forget that too.
Yep.
So, with that, we're going to wrap up for this week. Thanks for listening, and many blessings to you this next week. And we will see you on our next episode.
Dream on.
Dream on.